Welcome back to Cardinal Territory. I'm your host, Katie Wu. It's been a minute. If you watched our last couple of episodes, it was pretty clear I was definitely not 100%, but starting to feel much, much better. I would not recommend getting sick in the week before the trade deadline. 0 out of 5 stars. Really put a damper on my all-star break, honestly. But again, thankfully feeling much better and sounding much better. I know if you listened to the last 2 episodes, sorry about my voice. There was just quite literally nothing I could do about it. I know I sounded disgusting. Hopefully I'm sounding a lot better to you guys now. But I figured with just 5 days left until MLB's July 31st, 5 p.m. Central Time deadline, now would be a good time to give you all an update on what I'm hearing about the Cardinals' plans. We have a story about that on The Athletic now, and we'll fill in some information here on this episode. First, some housekeeping. St. Louis dropped the third game of this 4-game series to the Padres, losing 3-1 on Saturday night. Michael McGreevy will get the start in the finale on Sunday at long last. Michael McGreevy is a regular in the starting rotation. That move happened, of course, when the Cardinals DFA'd Eric Fedde on Wednesday in Denver. All signs point to McGreevy remaining in the rotation for the remainder of the season, so a really good opportunity for us McGreevy enthusiasts here on the pod to see what he's got in the final 2 months of the season. And who knows what those 2 months will look like. Heading into play Sunday, the Cardinals are one of 4 teams vying for that last National League wildcard spot. They are 2.5 games behind the Padres, with both the Reds and the Giants in between. What does this mean for their trade deadline plans? Great question. Let's get to it. As we reported in The Athletic yesterday, the Cardinals are listening on rental relievers, but they have yet to publicly declare a direction. And to be quite honest, they might not do so until those final 72 hours before the deadline. The Cardinals, as they teeter around 500 and in contention by the definition of the word contention, still have a lot to weigh as to who they'll part with. I still think Ryan Helsley is as good as gone. Got a chance to talk to Helsley in Denver, where he put his trade odds himself at 90%. He said, I'm 90% sure I'm going to be traded, 10% sure I'm going to stay. As the relief market starts to take form, we'll have a better idea on what that package for Helsley could look like, but I firmly expect him to be on the move. His value is just too high. They'll entertain offers on Phil Maton and Steven Matz as well, but surprisingly, and shout out Bernie, who had this figured out days ago, the Cardinals are also getting a lot of interest about Jojo Romero. So let's look at Jojo's stats real quick on Baseball Reference. I know it was a bad April, but we talked about the mechanical adjustments he's made with pitching coach Dusty Blake. It's led to a 3-3 record, a 2.12 ERA over 40 games, 34 innings, 34 strikeouts. He has 1 more year of team control remaining after this. He'll be a free agent after the 2026 season, so he'll bring a little bit more of a return because of the team control. Teams really like what Jojo Romero can bring from the left side. Cardinals fans have seen it for a couple years now. When he's right, he is a viable weapon. And the Padres here have been scouting Romero heavily. Clearly, they must like what they see because he's done a really nice job against them. The whole bullpen actually has done a nice job in the San Diego series. And that brings us to kind of a crossroads here for John Mozeliak and the Cardinals. All season long, I think we've talked about the inconsistencies as a whole from this roster, whether it's the rotation, whether it's the offense. But I think the bullpen, and no bullpen is perfect, I think overall the bullpen has done a really nice job, especially as of late. So I find it ironic that the names that the Cardinals are entertaining, whether that's Helsley, whether it's Maton, whether it's Matz, whether it's JoJo, have been instrumental in their late inning success. And I had a conversation with manager Ollie Marmol before Saturday's game about the difficulties of that if the Cardinals decide to sell, because I still don't know if a full sell is in their picture. Maybe a soft sell, maybe they move one piece, maybe they don't. We don't know that yet. I'll update you, of course, when I know more. But if the Cardinals are looking to move their relievers, that kind of makes things really complicated because I'm not sure who they have to replace some of these guys. And that's why I don't think the Cardinals can sell and compete at the same time. I know we've talked about it before, like last year. The Detroit Tigers sold at the deadline and somehow got better and made it to the playoffs. And now look at the Tigers there. I know they're going through a little bit of a lull right now, but they're one of the best teams in the American League. I have a hard time seeing the Cardinals go that route and having that same success record because you're trading away the guys that lock down the late innings for you. I don't know if the Cardinals have somebody that can replace Helsley in the ninth or Maton as a setup man. I like what we've seen out of Kyle Leahy. I think Andre Granillo's shown well in his limited starts. Gordon Graceffa has the stuff. Just needs to be a little bit more consistent. Riley O'Brien has been a really strong success story in this last 2 months of the season. But if you're trying to contend, which again, I'm not quite sure the Cardinals have chosen that direction, whatever they decide to do, it's going to be really hard to do that without your relievers. So not a lot to update on the relief market picture other than John Mozeliak has started to inform some rival clubs that he will listen on his rental relievers. Again, though, nothing is for certain. I would expect after this series to maybe have a little bit more clarity. But again, guys, I can really see these decisions going down to the Tuesday, Wednesday before Thursday's deadline. So patience. Not every team can be the Yankees and swing a ton of trades, or the D-backs. They've been the most active teams by far in this deadline. But we said coming into it that this is probably going to be a rather slow deadline. There's not a ton of stars available, and the market is still undefined. So many bubble teams still in the picture, including St. Louis. All right. We'll get into some other points of what we're hearing about the Cardinals in the deadline, namely with Nolan Arenado and Sonny Gray, and of course, Brendan Donovan. Quickly, though, we must hear from our friends at HelloFresh.
Kratz, what do? I'm in a bind and I need to make some food at home. I would like it to be home cooked, but I don't want to deal with any of the grocery crap.
HelloFresh, get it done. And they'll start to know when you're in a bind and they'll figure it out for you, sending something new whenever you order it. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it is. And there are dozens of menu items to choose from each week. They can also help you out if you need a little assistance. They can kind of cater to what your needs are or what your preferences are. They'll do a little Q&A session for you, and then you can be the star at home. Kratz is a superstar dad at home for his HelloFresh expertise. And if you want to get involved, then you can make sure that your summer is more enjoyable and delicious at HelloFresh.com/FT10FM. Get 10 free meals with a free item for life when you do that. HelloFresh.com/FT10FM. One per box with an active subscription. Free meals are applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan.
All right, so I will preface this next segment with, I do not expect Nolan Arenado nor Sonny Gray to be traded at this deadline. Do I expect us to revisit that conversation during the offseason? Yes, but right now, the odds of either of those players being moved before July 31st, so slim. All right, that's my disclaimer. I will say it's worth noting that according to multiple league sources, John Mozeliak has started to gauge interest to see if any team would be willing to take on either of those two players. Of course, both Nolan Arenado and Sonny Gray have full no-trade clauses. So this is really just preliminary gauging interest conversations. I'll go ahead and read this segment from The Athletic. St. Louis will entertain offers on Nolan Arenado and Sonny Gray. Both players have full no-trade clauses, but could be motivated to waive them for the right fit. Mozeliak has started to gauge the interest of a handful of contending teams, though the talks are described as preliminary. The odds of either player being traded before the deadline remain slim, but the Cardinals are financially motivated to move their contracts. Gray is owed $35 million in 2026, his final guaranteed year of his 3-year contract. The Cardinals do have a club option for 27. And Arenado has $31 million, not including deferrals, remaining over the next 2 seasons. So again, this would be a financially motivated move that I don't anticipate taking place this deadline, but it's worth noting that John Mozeliak is trying to gauge the interest of other teams. Another player that teams are gauging interest in is Brendan Donovan. I'll do this disclaimer as well. I don't think the Cardinals will move Brendan Donovan, and I don't think they want to unless the return is colossal. I'm talking about something they cannot say no to. And according to multiple industry sources that I've talked to, the word that all have used, it's been the exact same. It's been sky high. The Cardinals will not entertain a trade for Brendan Donovan unless the return is sky high. So I'll read that segment here from The Athletic as well. Again, you can check it out. It's $1 a month if you don't subscribe. Check it out. I'm just saying. The Los Angeles Dodgers are the team that have the most interest in Brendan Donovan right now. And if you're getting PTSD to the Tommy Edman trade, I will say it is a little similar. The New York Yankees did have interest in Brendan Donovan, though at this time that seemed to be a little bit tempered back because they just traded for Ryan McMahon and Ahmed Rosario from the Nationals. That trade went down about an hour ago. So right now it doesn't seem like Donovan is a fit for New York because they've got 2 pieces that he would essentially fit. So not sure that interest is still there anymore. But the Dodgers' interest is legit. Fabian Ardaya, the Dodgers writer for The Athletic, has a good story up there about what the Dodgers are looking for. Bullpen pitching is priority number 1. So maybe they're interested in Ryan Helsley, right? But they are looking, for a left-handed bat that can play the outfield. And that's Brendan Donovan. If they decide that they want to keep him at second base, you can move Tommy Edman to the outfield. Again, the odds of this happening remain slim, but it's worth noting this interest. Of course, contending teams want someone like Brendan Donovan, an all-star this year, having the best year of his career, still has 2 years of control remaining. So the Cardinals should listen, even if it's a hypothetical situation, even if it's just, hey, checking in, what's your read on this? Because Donovan's value has never been higher. And if you're looking for the future, this is probably the player that's going to net you the best return. Now, if you're the Cardinals and you're thinking you want Brendan Donovan for your future, okay, sure, I'm totally on board with that as well. We've said this on the show plenty of times. Brendan Donovan is the kind of player that I think you build a franchise around. But it's the trade deadline. Rumors fly. We know the Dodgers have interest. We can't count the Dodgers out of anything. So we'll continue to monitor. But honestly, as we sit here on Saturday night, it's almost midnight here, if you ask me what my gut feeling about the Cardinals at the deadline are going to do, I don't think they're going to be super active. I really don't. I can see Brian Helsley going. I would be shocked if he didn't go. And I could see Jojo Romero going. And I think Phil Maton does have a ton of value. I know it's only for 2 months, but you think about what his reputation is. I mean, he's a postseason caliber player, ton of experience there. He's pitched in the postseason every year since 2021. Veteran experience, setup man, very, very chill, doesn't scare easily. He's the exact type of reliever, rental reliever that contending teams want. So I do think there's a market for Maton. Not sure if there's going to be a heavy market for Matz. He's owed $12 million this year. My early math, very unofficial, don't quote me on this, has him owed a little bit less than $5 million, maybe around 4.5 for the rest of the season. That's a lot of money for teams to be taking on for a flyer. So we'll see about that. But I don't expect the Cardinals to make any colossal trades. I don't know if Helsley would qualify as a colossal trade because I think we all are kind of expecting him to be moved anyway. But I can see this being just kind of a tempered sell. Even when the Cardinals sold in 2023, it wasn't this big fire sale. They only traded the players on expiring contracts. When we talked to Mo in Denver, he briefly met with the media the first day of that series against the Rockies. He did say he still remains inclined to listen on his rental relievers, but he's going to remain open-minded to everything. That's what you should do when you are a seller, especially this year. The sellers have all of the leverage. And though Ryan Helsley would only be a rental for 2 months, I still think he has a ton of value, and I think the Cardinals will end up moving him. It's just a matter of time. So weird times in Cardinals land. Can I see a situation where they hold? Yes. Would I agree with that? Absolutely not. But it's what makes this next game against the Padres exciting. If you go ahead and you take 3 of 4 from Mike Shildt and his team, and you can stay somewhat in the race, maybe you can spin it. But let's be honest. Let's look at the standings here, guys. Let me pull it up. As we come into play on Sunday, the division does not look good if you're the Cardinals. They are 8 games back. All right. The Cubs, 61-43, same record as the Brewers. It's going to be neck and neck between those 2 teams. And then the Reds are kind of lingering in 3rd place, 5 games above 500. They're 6.5 games out of the division. You can count the Cardinals out of the NL Central. Let's just call it now. Let's call that race. It's either going to be the Cubs or the Brewers. And one of those teams, whoever doesn't win the division, will be a wild card team. So that would leave 2 spots. The Phillies right now have that. They are neck and neck with the Mets. And then the Padres. And there's a 4.5 game back between wild card spot number 5 and wild card spot number 6. So you essentially have 4 teams competing for 1 spot, because whether it's the Mets, the Phillies, the Brewers, or the Cubs, again, whichever teams don't win their divisions, they're going to be wild card teams. So you have 1 spot for 4 teams. Does that really make the Cardinals contenders? I say no. I say no. You're playing with such slim odds for a team that is not 1 piece away from being a winning team, all right? This Cardinals team has a significant amount of flaws. I don't want to discredit what they did in the first half. They did a nice job staying competitive. But as currently constructed, this is not a team that you feel confident can win a playoff series. And that's why I think the Cardinals should stick to their gut feel of building for the future and do a soft sell. See what you can get for your relievers. Listen on players like Romero and Donovan. I don't think that they will trade Donovan, but at least see what's out there potentially for them. And you have to move Helsley at this point unless you are going to extend him. And I don't necessarily think that's in the Cardinals' future anyway. Hard to say when they'll have a new president of baseball operations making that decision. All right, a quick message from our second sponsor, Huel, and then we'll wrap this quick episode up. Be right back.
Time for a quickie break. Todd Father and I are going to tell you about Huel, but it's mostly going to be Todd Father because I'm going to take a sip.
Well, we're talking about Huel
27 vitamins and minerals. It's a complete meal. Let's listen. We all have busy schedules. As Scott's sipping it down, it looks delicious. It tastes delicious. When we're on the run, we need something to eat quick. And guess what? Huel is there. All different flavors. Scotty loves them. I love them. And I love how variety-packed it is, and we can eat them any time of the day.
That's right. Yeah, check out the website. There's bars. There are so many different flavors. I love the Black Edition. Chocolate, 35 grams of protein. There's strawberry shortcake, coffee caramel, cookies and cream. I can go on, and you get yourself 15% off if you're a new customer using the code FOUL at Huel.com/foul. Please see our description for the terms and conditions. Skip the stress, not the nutrition. Try Huel today for complete nutrition with the code FOUL at Huel.com/foul.
All right, something to monitor in this final game of the series. Things have gotten a little chippy here between the Cardinals and the Padres. Bench is cleared for the second time in 2 days when Wilson Contreras was hit by a pitch. He was hit by a pitch Friday against Nick Pivetta. Hit again today by Randy Vasquez, although that one certainly seemed unintentional. The two hugged it out after. But bench is cleared here in the ninth. Let me pull it up. So much happened in the last 24 hours. When Manny Machado was hit for the second time in Saturday's game, the first time he'd been hit multiple times in one game in his career, he did not like it. Now, Andre Granillo was the pitcher. The first pitcher to hit Manny Machado was Matthew Liberatore. You can make the argument if that was intentional or not. Both innings were warnings were issued to both teams after that happened in the fifth inning. Andre Granillo hits Manny Machado on an 0-2 count in the ninth. Clearly not intentional there, and Manny knew it, but he still was mad. And you get hit twice in a game. I get it. It got a little chippy though, because as the bench is cleared, Wilson Contreras tried to get Manny Machado out of there, and didn't look like Manny Machado and John Jay had some nice words to exchange to each other. John Jay was actually ejected from the game for the small altercation that the two got into. I do not know what was said, what Jay said, what Manny said, but I will read these post-game comments that Manny Machado said to San Diego-based reporters. He said, him and John Jay are absolutely not friends. He said, you're pissed off. You know what it is. I'll read the full quote. Manny Machado is talking about Andre Granillo here. He said, poor kid. I know he probably doesn't want to do that in the situation. Obviously, you see him, what he does. He just kind of feels bad. You're just pissed off. You know, it is what it is. I mean, there was nothing to it. But then you got somebody else coming up and yapping their mouth. That's when shit starts getting real. So Manny is at that point referring to John Jay, who, as the bench is cleared, come up and said something to him. Again, we do not know what. Home plate umpire Lance Barrett deemed Andre Granillo did not intentionally throw at Machado. So even though warnings were issued, Granillo was allowed to stay in the game. Jay, of course, was ejected. It's noteworthy because for a very long time, Manny Machado and John Jay shared a very public friendship along with Yonder Alonso. They were the 305 guys, 305 boys, one of those. But clearly something happened between the two because Manny Machado made it very clear that him and John Jay are not friends. So that will be worth monitoring tomorrow. And if nothing goes down tomorrow, don't worry. The Cardinals go to San Diego starting Friday for a 3-game set. So these two teams will see each other 4 more times in the next 7 days. Just an interesting thing for that to be a little public. I don't think John Jay he'll be coaching tomorrow. He'll be back. That ejection was just for the game. Weird times ahead in Cardinals land. If the trade deadline didn't make things weird, this altercation, this whole interaction, 2 benches clearing incidents, 2 issues warned and issued in 2 separate days. Just a lot going on. Weird times here. Maybe it's a full moon. I don't know. Bernie is back with me tomorrow. We'll do a series recap, and of course, we'll update you on anything else that we're hearing about the St. Louis Cardinals and the trade deadline. We'll do more of these trade deadline updates as the week goes on, and of course, we'll have a breakdown of the full picture after that Thursday, July 31st deadline. So I can't predict the future, guys. I will say this is the most challenging trade deadline I've ever covered as a beat writer with this team, just because it's so unpredictable and the decision is still undecided. Makes it really hard to kind of see where things are going. I would expect more clarity in the next couple of days, but with this team, this front office, who knows? All right, that's another episode of Cardinal Territory. Again, we're back with you on Sunday. Bernie and I breaking it down right after the series ends. Thanks, as always, for watching. We'll talk to you very soon.